Sorry.
I don't think it shows up on the agenda, but you might want to ask for declarations. Right?
Oh, that's right. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here this afternoon for our site plan meeting. Before we begin the meeting, I'd like to introduce who is here. And we have with us here, my name is Councillor Tom Vague, and I'll be chairing the meeting. We have with us Councillor Tom Hempin, Councillor Kelly Broom Plumley, Regional Councillor John Taylor, Councillor Jane Twinney, and Mayor Van Bynen. I'd also like to ask the staff to please introduce themselves. Yes.
Linda Travis, Senior Planner, Town of Newmarket.
Rick Nethery, Town of Newmarket Planning and Building Department.
Peter Nohammer, Commissioner of Development and Infrastructure, Town of Newmarket.
Okay. And again, thank you everyone for being here. Before we get into our business, just a couple of things. I'd like to ask if there are any declarations. Councillor?
Yes, I have to declare an interest. The property is adjacent to a property owned by my employer.
On which one? Number 1 or 2? The Rogers or the EMS?
EMS.
EMS. Thank you. Any other declarations? Okay, thank you. Also, with the council's permission, with council's support, I'd like to change the order of our business. I think item number 1 with EMS will probably take a longer period of time than item number 2 regarding the telecommunication tower. So with the council's permission, if we'd just like to switch that order. No objections? Thank you very much. Then coming up first, we do have an application for a telecommunications tower at 1151 Ringwell Drive, and that's in Ward 3. And we do have someone coming up to discuss that.
My name's Kathy Bellata. I'm with a company called Standard Land, and we're an agent to Rogers Communications. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present the tower proposal.
Can just pull the microphone a little bit closer to you? Sit in the middle. Or sit in the center, then you'll be closer to the mic. Thank you very much.
Is that better?
Just pull it close.
Would you like me to repeat what I've said before?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
My name is Kathy Bellata. I'm with a company called Standard Land. We act as agents for Rogers Communications. So I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present this tower proposal. So we are proposing a 40-meter tower at 1151 Ringwell Drive. So what I just want to review for you today, the first 2 slides are very general telecommunication slides, and then I'll go into detail regarding the proposal. This slide is generally meant to just demonstrate the impact of the number of users and the type of users that are now on each of the carriers' networks, and the effect that it has on the coverage that networks are able to provide to the end user, being the consumer. So this slide demonstrates that, traditionally there just used to be voice used for cell phones, but now cell phones are used for so much more than just voice, data, internet surfing, downloads, video viewing. And so this slide just demonstrates where traditionally a cell phone only used up so much capacity in a network. Now with the explosion of the smartphone and the tablets and laptops that are now so much smaller and makes us so much more mobile. Each of these different types of devices have such an astronomical effect on the network, where traditionally a particular cell phone only used up so much capacity. One smartphone will actually use up 35 times the capacity of a cell phone. Again, a tablet, an iPad would use up to 121 times, and laptops, because of the capacity that they have, can use up to 488 times. So in addition to all this information provided, now at the end of 2014, instead of just 26 million subscribers, we're now at 28.2 million subscribers in Canada. More than 1 in 5 households only have cell phones. They no longer have landlines. So a cell phone now becomes an individual's only line of communication to the outside world. And something that is of very pertinent information is in major urban centers, more than half of 911 calls are actually made from mobile devices. So cell phones are no longer a convenience, they're actually a necessity these days. So carriers, with all this information, they strive to have what we call a continuous network. So you want to avoid dropped calls, you want to avoid people not being able to make their calls, especially in dire situations. So what happens as populations grow and the traditional older cell towers no longer can provide all the capacity that's required. So what happens as more commuters are commuting in particular areas, as more residences are going up in particular areas, it can develop what's called a hole in a network, whereas, as each cell phone call is being made, a hole in the network can result in a dropped call, or in worst case scenarios, calls not being able to be made. The coverage objective for the particular tower that we are proposing is for commuter traffic along Highway 404 and Green Lane. But as an additional objective, the RF engineers at Rogers want to cover north of Colonel Wayne Boulevard, south to Elgin Street, east to Woodbine Avenue, and west to Travis Drive. This slide shows for you the heavy blue, not circles, but blobs that appear on these two different before coverage illustration and after coverage illustration. Just shows the existing sites that Rogers is operating around the area, and how this particular, right here, if you could see with my mouse where I'm pointing, this is the coverage objective that we're hoping to provide with this cell tower proposal. I wanted to provide to you some what we call photo simulations, so before and after photos of what the tower will actually look like. So we are northeast from the intersection of Ringwall Drive and Leslie Street. We're approximately 350 meters away from the proposed tower location. So this illustrates the before and after of what the tower is actually going to look like for pedestrian or in-car commuters along that area. And then I have a second photo simulation for you here, looking southwest from Green Lane east, and this is approximately 540 meters from the tower location. As what is always done whenever a carrier deems that there is a hole in the network and a new cell phone tower is required. We always look to surrounding existing infrastructure to see if co-location is a possibility. So this map and the information below demonstrates to you the surrounding sites and what we looked into to justify why co-location wasn't possible. The nearest tower being the Bell Tower, that's 0.82 kilometers away, just at the Highway 404 MTO ramp onto the 404 there. So that is an existing 36-meter tower. Unfortunately, because of the tower type, it's called a shrouded monopole. It actually limits the availability of elevations that are available on the tower. Obviously, Bell being the tower owner, they have the top portion of the tower with their own infrastructure. So Rogers had applied for co-location, and unfortunately, an elevation that would work for their coverage objective was not available. The next available tower, more than a kilometer away, is a TELUS tower. It's at 15 meters, so obviously the not only the elevation of the infrastructure is not suitable, but it is actually too close to an existing Rogers site. The next possibility was 1.43 kilometers away that had TELUS and Public Mobile. That's on the water tower. So it was also too close to an existing Rogers site. And then lastly, at 925 Davis Drive, a 23-meter rooftop where Rogers is already located, and for obvious reasons, that was not suitable. And so the conclusion being that a new tower would be required. So we followed the Town of Newmarket's tower policy and protocol, and on January 29th, we had a pre-consultation meeting to discuss the location that's proposed. The location did not have, weren't any real objections to the location, as it is located in an industrial area. It being in an industrial area, we did determine it's more than 100 meters away from residential amenity areas and public and institutional facilities. And because the proposed location is also within 500 meters of a neighboring municipality, we also provided the town of East Gwillimbury a copy of the same selection report, justification report that we provided to the town of Newmarket, and that was couriered to Thomas R. Webster, the CAO of East Gwillimbury, as well as Nick Pileggi, the Director of Planning at East Gwillimbury. So they were couriered to them on February 24th, and we did request a response by March 10th. But to date, I have not received any response. Just to show you Google Earth imagery of the proposed location, this is 1151 Rittenwell Drive. It is an industrial area. The closest residential properties are where my pointer is now. There are 2 residential properties here. So from property line to this property line, it's a 125-meter distance. And subsequently, sorry, I've just lost my mouse for some reason. There we go. This property line to this property line is 188 meters away. Access to the location will be off Ringwell Drive, so no further access routes are required. A copy of the survey, although unfortunately this turned out a little blurrier than I hoped. We did provide full-size copies of the survey as well as legal-sized copies per per the protocol requirements. And then just in conclusion, there are health and safety regulations that all the carriers must abide by. It is a requirement of their licenses. So all installations are required to follow the guidelines of Safety Code 6. It is a cumulative, so it's not just one installation that has to abide, it's all equipment that has to abide. So if there are any other co-locating parties, their equipment is also taken into consideration, and everything does have to fall below the Safety Code 6 regulations. And then finally, Industry Canada is the federal regulatory authority. However, we do always consult with local land use authorities. That's why we have we open the dialogue for all the involved parties. And that's it for my presentation, if there are any questions.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Before we get into questions, and maybe I see some are coming up, does staff have any comments on this proposal?
Our comments, through the chair, are provided in the review notes that are appended to your agenda package.
Okay, thank you. Okay, who came up first? Is that Shirley? Okay, Councillor Twinney?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. You said did you circulate any information to the area residents that this was going to be going in, or so that they were informed about it?
Well, further to the protocol, public consultation isn't required so long as the proposed tower location is over 100 meters away from residential dwellings. So in our pre-consultation, we determined that, but we're waiting for a final word that we don't have to consult the neighboring properties.
And another, I know in the past when we've had installation of cell towers, we've had the applications, they've been able to require, like they've done a donation to the town, and maybe through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, I believe it's in the area of around $10,000. Is this something that you would consider as well with this application as well?
So I did bring this forward to our client, Rogers. They are considering that, and they'll be able to provide me an answer shortly. But as of today, I apologize, I don't have a response.
So that answer would come back through to staff, I guess,
yes,
prior to the tower going in. And when is the approximate date that you were looking at installing it?
Well, as soon as we're provided concurrence, a whole process has to take place. It probably wouldn't be for another 4 to 6 months before construction would actually commence.
Okay, thank you.
Regional Councillor Taylor?
Thanks. Who is the property owner? Is it in the report?
Yes, it is.
Oh, sorry.
So I don't have the name.
So the name is in the report, though?
It is, yeah.
The yellow ones?
It's at the top of notes, but is it in the submission, or? Of course,
Property owner.
no, there's,
That's the owner.
okay. Because I did notice on page 3, you listed the names of, quite specifically, the names of people you'd approached and weren't interested. So I was having a hard time finding the person who was interested. Ironically, you mentioned Stock and TriCap and Sora.
Yep.
But you also mentioned York Region, the town of Newmarket. So what sites for York Region, the town of Newmarket, did you approach on, and what were our staff can speak to what was?
For York Region, so unfortunately, the original search area was more centered around the intersection of Green Lane and Leslie, and around there's some bus terminals, so that was for the York Region properties, town of Newmarket. The York Regional property is right off, it actually, if I could go back to my Google Earth image, right here, where the water reservoir is.
And that's what property?
That's the town of Newmarket's
Town of
property.
Newmarket? And the towns, I believe our protocol actually asks for, to examine municipal sites.
Yeah,
First and foremost.
when we first approached that, there wasn't enough, because of the use of the property, there wouldn't have been enough room for a tower. And for future development of that property, it was preferred that we didn't.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I apologize.
Oh,
If you could speak
sorry.
a little louder. Or,
Yeah, so when we had approached for that property, so it is a water reservoir, there weren't there wasn't really enough room for us to place the tower on that property,
okay.
considering the uses of the property, the current uses of the property and future uses of the property.
So the regional site was explored initially, but deemed not to be where you want it to be. Is that correct? You
No,
said
the
you originally explored
regional- Sorry, are we
Yeah.
talking the town property or
both.
York?
I'm taking them one at a time. I
York
thought-
region,
Yeah.
we were just sort of considering the four corners at
Right.
Leslie and Green Lane, and those are bus terminal properties, and that's why it belongs to the region, and so those were not really appropriate.
For yourselves? Or?
Telecom, yeah, for the region, telecom providers have never really been allowed to locate their towers in boulevards used for bus terminals.
Okay.
So that was the response there.
And the town wasn't,
The town didn't feel that there was enough room on the property really to locate a communications tower.
is there anybody in staff? Yeah, it'd be great for you, Chair.
Through the chair to the regional councillor, perhaps for clarification, if you look at the slide that's on the screen and you see where the yellow pin is, which denotes the proposed tower location, that actually defines the boundary between the town of Newmarket and the town of East Gwillimbury. So the stormwater management pond that our applicant is referring to actually is within the town of East Gwillimbury, not the town of Newmarket.
Oh, sorry.
So, and to the town of East Gwillimbury, then that's who you're referring, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Just-
My apologies. That's probably over a year ago that we approached them. So, yes, I would have gotten the towns confused.
Okay. Yeah, just because it says you couldn't successfully enter into an agreement, and it is a revenue opportunity, and it sounds like it wasn't ourselves, so I just wanted to make sure that that's, we're clear. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bazans?
Thank you. I recognize that public consultation isn't required, but have you initiated any consultation at all with the neighbors? Have they been informed that this is being contemplated? What is has the response been to that?
Not at this time.
Okay. And so and particularly the residential neighbors there aren't aware that this is being contemplated?
Correct.
Okay. My second question is with respect to the potential future owners of this property. Like, what happens if the current owner decides to sell that property? Is it a package deal that the new owner would get the tower, or what position does that put Rogers in if the property is sold and you're just kind of plunked there?
So generally speaking, and this is a practice amongst all carriers, the lease that's eventually concluded and executed by both parties are registered on title, so that the tower, it proceeds with every property owner.
So it
Of
becomes a
that
package
property.
deal
Yes.
with the property? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And what about liability then for,
In what respect?
should something happen with the tower or just to the property, who holds the liability for that, particularly for surrounding neighbors?
I'm not sure I
Is
understand
it
what you mean.
so is it Rogers that has liability, holds liability, or is it the private landowner because they're leasing the space to?
But liability in respect to what?
Well, if something
Specifically.
should happen to the tower or neighbors around as a result of the tower being there.
So both parties would have their own insurance coverages, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, so there is definitely an insurance coverage. Should anything happen, it really depends on is it the negligence of the carrier, or I don't, could be the negligence of the property owner. That has to be determined depending what happened.
Okay. All right, thank you. And just then one final comment, then coming back to the consultation element. So assuming that there's no objection here, is that your plan then to initiate full public consultation and get comments from the neighbors and the residents there?
So what we were hoping to conclude from this meeting is whether there would be a requirement for public consultation or not. Because as per the town protocol, because we are the correct distance away from residential, that public consultation would not be a requirement.
But that is something that is up to this committee to determine, is that? Because I thought I read here that public consultation is not, or
Right,
a
but
public
we-
information center is not required.
It's not
as well.
required, but I believe we can request.
We can request it?
Is that
Okay.
correct?
All right, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this, comment on this application? Yes? Okay. Okay, well, Kathy, thank you very much.
Oh, so
And I believe we do have a member. We're just going to ask you to come down, please, so we can. And if you could just please provide your name and address, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cecilia. I am strictly against that because a lot of people do not know about it, how much damage is done to the health. I think you as a counselor, it's your duty to tell everybody, send them a letter and explain what causes this all behind me. For instance, me, I cannot even go through your LED light. It affects me so much. We are not all the same. We are all different people. I feel so much when I go through your camera LED light, which you have it in every light that is like a fire go through me. And through this tower, I think those people who live around there, they should be asked if they have anything against it. Not what the company just wanted, because once they build it, it will be too late.
Okay, so you're asking that notification be sent out
To
the surrounding
yes, and
area.
surrounding area, especially people, if they live in so many meters away from it, they could be very sick, and they do not know what it causes.
Okay, thank
Because nobody doesn't tell the truth, I tell you.
you. Okay, thank,
The
thank,
people should be noticed through the newspaper or sent to every household. That's what we pay in taxes for.
okay, thank you
Okay.
very much. Well, wait, excuse me, we do have a question, Councilor Henson?
Yeah, I don't. Thank you for your comments. Is it possible that we get Google Maps up again? Could you show us where you live in
I
relation to
live
it?
on Leslie and Broughton Lane. I see all the towers that you have over there with water. On top of the water, you have those electronics on it, which affects me very badly.
And how far away would you be, would you guess?
It doesn't matter. I could even feel here, and I could feel it here. If you have any electronics, I feel it. It goes through all my body.
Okay.
I cannot even walk on the street without going like a fire through my body.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for your comments.
We can have a motion to receive the presentation? Oh, excuse me, the deputation? So moved. Councilor Hempin? Councilor Twinney? All those in favor? Okay. If we have a motion to receive this application for a telecommunication tower. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Twinney? And Councillor Taylor?
Yeah. Can I just have a question?
Yes.
Through staff. Through you, Mr. Chair, to staff. In the past, I know we've had, we have several of the communication towers installed, especially in the industrial areas, so they're away from residential areas. Have we, in the past, had public consultation for any of these? And also, if we were, what sort of, I know this is already outside of the 100 meters. What would be, what would your recommendation be then if we were to go outside of the 100 meters? Would we go 200 meters? Approximately, what would your thoughts be on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the policy that the representative was describing is something that was actually adopted by council, and so it's established those distances, and I think I heard it was 100 meters. So in my view, even if it is appropriate, then that's, I think, a reasonable number to capture, although there's nothing to prevent us going more broadly if that's the desire of Site Plan Review Committee. In terms of any science about the specific distance, I don't know that I can direct you into anything there. But if council or Site Plan Review Committee is interested in giving some notice and actually organizing a PIC, we'd be happy to do that.
I'm the ward council for the area, and I personally feel comfortable that that it's at a location that's far enough away from the residential area. I don't believe we can refuse an application for a communications tower in any event. Is that correct?
Yeah, the last couple that can recall, and one was actually just over on Penrose, I think, or Kent, was in an industrial area, and I don't believe we had any public consultation on that one either. So, right. And it's actually probably a little closer to adjacent residential areas, although still within that distance.
Okay, thank you.
Regional Councillor.
Thanks very much. Do you recall, did we, in the last application, the last couple of applications, did we make a decision in advance of hearing about the community benefit contribution?
Through the chair to the regional councillor, yes. It's been the practice of Site Plan Review Committee to request a community benefit with each cell phone application that or each tower application that you've supported.
But my question was, do you recall if we waited to hear the response, or did we make it subject to, or did we process this and wait and hope?
Through the chair again to the regional councillor, it's my recollection that it was subject to, so it was a condition of your approval that a community benefit be provided to the town.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and I can also support the ward councillor's position on consultation. And you're going to make a motion, or
Make a motion, I guess, to put in the request. To put in the request for a community benefit of $10,000 and subject, I guess.
Approval subject to receiving the benefit?
Subject to receiving the community benefit.
You can have a seconder for that motion?
So
I'll second it.
the application, to accept the application subject to the acceptance of a community benefit of $10,000.
Oh, certainly.
And so you're suggesting without public consultation?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel comfortable that it's far enough away that it's, it's a location that's in an industrial area, which I think is appropriate area for the cell towers.
We do have a seconder motion with Councillor Tom Hempin. Discussion?
Yeah, I don't mind speaking to the public consultation part as well. We have, if this were an application that we're significantly embedded in, or even directly affecting a residential area, I think that would be more than appropriate. But this is really where we want them to go, and we can't say no. And so, I think to hold a public consultation with the public that doesn't fall within our notification area, for something that is where we would want it to go, as opposed to in a residential area, I think, and that's why I think our policy actually speaks to, if it is in this kind of location, to the potential to waive the public consultation. I just think it fits right, and so I'm more than comfortable with that.
Okay. Councillor Bazans?
I guess I'm less comfortable, not because of perhaps the whether it fits within the parameters of just going ahead, but I know that there was a similar situation just south of us on Bathurst Street that there was a similar situation. The tower just kind of appeared, and significant public outcry because of concern that they hadn't been notified, weren't aware that it was happening, and I think that can sort of set things back a lot further than any gain of going forward. I would just feel more comfortable if the immediate residents, and particularly the domestic residents there on the corner, had some opportunity to be informed that this was happening and taking place. So whether it's some kind of public notification, but something just to let people know what's happening.
Okay. Thank you. Perhaps can we leave that as an instruction to staff, because I think you're referring to 2 homes right there at the corner. That instead of having a full PIC, perhaps those homeowners, because I think those are the ones that you're referring to, can be informed of this, and can that be a direction to both staff to work out with Rogers to do that?
And I'm just also thinking about the people who are on the other side of Leslie, who are going to have, that view as well on the horizon. So just, perhaps maybe those who are immediately neighboring the perimeter. So if you look, there's all those homes along Leslie there, who facing eastward are going to be seeing that tower.
Councillor Tweeney?
I have no issue with doing public consultation, but I just don't know what the outcome would be. Like, I know it's allowing them to know, but we can't say no to it. And I feel that it's in an appropriate place. I'm just, we've put in other cell towers in that industrial area, and we haven't had any opposition to it. So I feel it's an appropriate area for the cell tower. And how long, if we do a public consultation through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, is it going to cause any, will it cause any delay, or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess that depends on, if it's a formal PIC that's being requested, then we would have to give, some reasonable amount of notice to people, and, that, might be 3 weeks or so, and we'd have to find an appropriate venue. And then we'd have to go through the exercise again, and then presumably bring it back here. So, yeah, that would, I'm not sure what the rush is, in terms of the need, but I think we heard that there are some shortfalls there. And that could conceivably back it up a month or 2, I would think.
I'm comfortable moving forward as a ward councillor in that area, so okay. I'm not in support of doing a public consultation.
Okay. Councillor Taylor?
I'm just trying to find maybe an easy way, but what about, I think I heard Councillor Bazans, I have to agree with Councillor Tweeney's sentiment, but what about just like as, and the chair was suggesting, what about a direct mailing to the 2 homes and then 12 or 15 homes that are, would that suffice, a direct mailing? And
I think that's what I was suggesting. If a full-blown public consultation or PIC isn't required, but at least to notify those people in the immediate neighborhood that this is coming. And I don't know, maybe the representative from Rogers can indicate what has your practice been in the past. Like, surely to goodness we don't just kind of build the tower overnight and there it is and say, what do you think of us now? But do you have a usual process and plan to inform the neighbors of what's happening and what to expect and when to expect it, and to perhaps address some of the concerns related to, you know, perceived health effects and so forth.
So normally,
Did you want to
normally
respond
when
first?
a town does not have their own protocol, we follow what's called the CPC, which is directed by Industry Canada, which, as I had briefly mentioned before, is really what regulates the entire industry. Under the rules of CPC, only the residents within 3 times the tower height from the base of the tower are usually notified. And as a matter of fact, it's usually a 120-day consultation period that we have to abide by under CPC. So that would be our usual public consultation under any other tower proposal for a municipality that would not have a protocol. Because the town of Newmarket does have a protocol, we abide by the conditions of the town's protocol,
Thank you.
which
Council-
normally doesn't go above and beyond what the CPC dictates.
Regional Councillor Taylor, I believe you had some additional comments?
Well, just that we do, and we have a protocol, correct? Yeah, and it speaks to this public consultation, industrial areas, et cetera. But I'm looking at it, and I just thought I'd point out, Councillor Bassans, in terms of people looking at it, there's the 2 houses at the corner that wouldn't look at it, but certainly are close, or at least in that zone. And then across the street, there's a couple, but the rest across the street actually front on to Meadow Lane. So that's their backyards. I guess they could be sitting in their backyards and viewing it. But, you know, maybe there can be no harm in it. And I don't think a letter was, and that doesn't need to come back to site plan. And, you know, on the condition, a direct letter sent to those 2 homes, and maybe, you know, I think 10 is more than safe. 10 homes in either direction from Leslie Valley or Ringwell within the boundaries of the town of Newmarket. Would that, is that, I mean, it should be relatively easy. And
So if I may comment to that, if you are dictating the number of residents or the area of residents that we will be providing a notification to, it has to be specified that this has been dictated to us by the town of Newmarket, because what residents tend to do is think that Rogers is going behind the back and doing minimal consultation requirements. I hear that 9 times out of 10 whenever we do a consultation. So if you're cherry picking the residents, you're better off not cherry picking at all. That could end up being a very negative impact, something that.
so what I'm hearing you say is you prefer a full PIC in the council chambers and a delay of 2 months?
Well, I need you to define the rules and make it clear that it's the town of Newmarket that defined the rules of the consultation.
We were defining the rules, but could you answer, would you prefer a full PIC?
No, I would
Okay,
not, sir.
thank you. That's up to,
Okay. We have no one else in the queue. If we can have a motion, please. We have the motion to approve the application, subject to Rogers agreeing to the $10,000 community benefit, and that was seconded by Tom Hempin, Councillor Hempin. Call the vote. Call the vote, please. Or did you?
Well, I would prefer an amendment, but because I do think that this is something that will have a reaction, and if we haven't at least informed the immediate residents there in the homes, then I think that won't reflect well on the council.
Would you like to suggest some words for that amendment?
That subject to the community donation and informing the neighboring residents backing on to the immediate area.
There are no residents.
No, the people in the 2 homes right on the corner, and then those across the street.
10 homes in each direction? I'm just trying to narrow it down so we're, yeah.
Well, if that's what it is, 10 homes, I don't know.
The 10 homes backing on to Leslie, going both excuse me, going north and south, going north and south.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there's 10, but it's approximately here. I'd like to ask our mover, if you're in.
I'm not really particularly in favor of it. We have so are we going to start changing our policy now moving forward? Like, we do have a policy in place of dealing with this, and now we're going to, I mean, if we're going to do that, I think we're going to have to relook at our policy.
Okay, so that's not seen as a friendly amendment.
No, I mean, and which you know what I mean, so they're going to come to, okay, which house exactly? Like, so the 11th house can see it maybe, or can't see it? I don't know. I mean, I can't just say at the top of my head how many houses.
Okay.
I'd have to take a look now and see, you know, which ones would actually be affected.
Okay, so it's not a friendly amendment?
I think we have a policy in place for a reason, and I think it's worked well in the past, and we haven't had opposition in the past, and I think it's why we have it in place. So I'm fine with the motion as it stands.
Okay, Councillor Henson, seconder?
Thank you. Yeah, I have a question regarding the amendment, and maybe of our deputant. You mentioned CTC or CPC. So CPC would supersede the decision on increasing the notification area by the municipality?
It could.
It could, or it would?
It could.
It could. And our policy states 100 meters. I'm not comfortable with doing this, with not knowing and using an arbitrary distance. We have a policy in place, and I'm not sure if maybe staff could tell us how far these homes are actually away. Are they, if the requirement's 120 meters, or our town's policy is 100 meters, and these homes are 400 meters, that's exceeding the distance by 4 times. So I'm wondering if staff could give me it. If it's, you know, if it's a 50 meters or 30 meters, I get it. But, you know, if it's, like I say, exceeding it 3-4 times, then no, I don't see that as being reasonable.
Mr. Nethery?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we haven't done any specific measurement today, but I think I had heard from the proponent that the closest distance from, I guess it's the westerly lot line of the subject land through to the closest rear lot line of one of those properties fronting Leslie was in the order of 120 meters, I believe, 135. So that's in excess of what our policy would normally require.
Going across the street to Leslie, sorry.
And yeah,
so going across the street to Leslie, we have, is it 180 meters, or is it, we're not sure, right? Because that's what's being proposed,
well,
is to go across the street to Leslie and
actually,
notify 10 homes, right?
So perfectly, if you go to the photo simulation, well, you can't, but the photo simulation that I had shown you is right at Leslie and Ringwell, and that is 350 meters away from the proposed tower. And the residents would be even further back than the 350 meters, because we're right at the street corner.
So the 2 homes at the corner of Leslie and Ringwell are 350 meters?
No.
Sorry.
So Leslie and Ringwell,
Yes?
the 2 affected homes, I calculated from lot line to lot line. One was 125 meters, one was 188 meters. If we're now looking at the homes on Leslie, I'm saying those homes are more than 350 meters away.
Thank you for that information. So for myself, I'm going to support the motion and not the amendment. I think if we have a policy in place that states 100 meters and all of a sudden we're going to come forward and try to extend that, or I understand, I believe in community consultation, but we're talking 3.5 times exceeding that distance. And for myself, I feel comfortable supporting the motion, so I will be.
Okay. So the motion before us is to approve the application, subject to Rogers agreeing to the $10,000 donation for community benefit. And it's moved by Councillor Twinney and seconded by Councillor Hempin. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. All right. That's okay. Okay, thank you. Up next, we have an application for amendment to site plan approval, at 18106 and 18110 Yonge Street. That's in Ward 7, north of Davis Drive, west side of Yonge Street. And this is from the Regional Municipality of York. And I'm going to find my notes in the correct order now. There it is.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Silver, and I'm the Manager of Capital Delivery with the Property Services Branch for the Regional Municipality of York. I want to thank Chair Vey and members of the Site Plan Committee for this opportunity to present our application to you to develop two very important projects for York Region Transit and the Region's Emergency Medical Services Branch on lands located at 18110 Yonge Street. The project for YRT constitutes an expansion to an existing bus storage facility that was previously owned and operated by GO Transit. This use has been on these lands and in this location for some 23 plus years. And the York Region Transit has actually been operating out of that facility since the fall of 2014, and also has been operating out of the building closer to Yonge Street, 18106, for approximately 10 years. The project for EMS involves the development of a new paramedic response station. Both these projects are being proposed to address population growth and the need to provide additional transit and emergency medical services to the residents of Newmarket and the surrounding area. The EMS project will introduce a second paramedic response station to service the emergency medical service needs of your growing community. Accompanying me today and here to answer any questions that you may have to do with these proposals is Norm Barrett, Chief and General Manager of York Region Emergency Medical Services. Norm, thank you. Tim Balston, Acting Deputy Chief of EMS. Tim, thank you. And Mr. Rick Tagaki, Director of Operations for the York Region Transit. I would also like to inform the committee that we did attend a pre-consultation meeting with staff from the town of Newmarket back in November of 2014. It is my understanding that our application provides reports and related information required by your planning and engineering departments to support our project's applications. I would also like to introduce Lauren Capilongo, who is here with us today from Malone Given Parsons Limited, and they are the region's planning consultants for these developments. Joining Lauren is a number of sub-consultants from the project team who are also available to answer any questions that you may have, and I believe Lauren will introduce those different sub-consultants. That being said, I would like to ask Lauren to present to you our application for site plan approval, and once again, thank you for your time. Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the committee. I've prepared what I hope will be a brief presentation to provide you with a high-level overview of the site plan application that was filed for the properties known municipally as 18106 and 18110 Yonge Street. The purpose of these applications, as Martin said, was really to permit an expansion of the existing York Region Transit indoor bus storage facility and the creation of a new paramedic response station on the property. So this is just an aerial photograph to give you some context of where the property is located. The property boundary is outlined in red. The overall property is located at the northwest quadrant of Yonge Street and Aspenwood Drive, and it's approximately 6.5 hectares in size. And it's a little bit unique in the fact that it's located both within the municipality of Newmarket, and the northern half is also within the town of East Gwillimbury. Currently, the site has direct frontage onto Yonge Street through an existing driveway access, which is two ways. And the property also has frontage on Aspenwood Drive, as you can see here. The surrounding land use context, to the north, we have the Green Lane Shopping Center Plaza, and it's anchored by the Loblaws and the Costco. Here. To the south is another commercial plaza anchored by a Walmart, and then further south there's also some existing residential dwellings. To the immediate east is an existing car dealership, and further east is Yonge Street, and to the west is an existing residential community. So the property 18110 Yonge Street currently accommodates an indoor bus storage facility. It currently has capacity for about 55 buses being stored indoors. As Martin mentioned, York Region purchased this property in 2014 from Grow Transit, and the purpose of the purchase was to house its expanding York Region and Viva bus fleet. The Go Transit facility has been operating for 20 plus years on this property, and it was operating as a bus storage facility. York Region is not proposing to change the use of the building. Moreover, it's continuing to operate the building as the indoor bus storage facility. And York Region needs the additional space to store its growing bus fleet to accommodate service in Newmarket and surrounding area. 18110 is immediately adjacent to another York Region owned property, which is 18106 Yonge Street. 18106 is used for YRT bus maintenance. It has 24 bays, and it's been operating for 10 plus years. So just very briefly, the property has some site characteristics that are unique and does present some development challenges as well as opportunities. The first photo is a view looking west along Aspenwood Drive. And you'll see there along the south property line, there is a berm which in some areas can be up to 5 meters high. The berm is higher closest to Yonge Street and gradually becomes less pronounced as the further west you move towards the residential community. On top of the berm is a board-on-board fence. And the site plan proposes to maintain this berm to the greatest extent possible for the portion of the property where the indoor bus storage is going to be located, or the expansion is going to be located. The western part of the site, closer to the residential community, the berm is very much less pronounced. It's maybe about 1 meter, maximum 2 meters and change. The second photo is a view from the property looking west towards the existing residential subdivision. And you can see that there is some change in elevation as well between the existing parking lot area and the residential community to the west. This is just a site photo to give you some further context. It's showing the site and the existing bus storage facility and parking lot area that currently exists on the property. And it was obviously taken at the time when Go Transit still occupied the building, because you can see the Go Transit building bus in the back there. So I'll get into the site plan details in a moment, but I just wanted to give a little bit of background as to why there's a need for these two new facilities. In terms of the expanded bus storage facility, York Region does require a larger bus storage facility to accommodate growing demand in service in Newmarket and the surrounding area. The inclusion of a new paramedic response station really stems from its 10-year master plan review. Back in 2012, the York Region paramedics engaged a consulting firm to complete an in-depth analysis and identify current and future call volumes, best station locations, and required resources. And it was through that process that EMS developed a 10-year resource and facilities master plan to maintain a high level of service and meet performance time standards. And that 10-year master plan identified this exact site as an ideal location to provide the most efficient and effective paramedic services to this and the surrounding community. So the paramedic response station is really needed to service the increased population growth in Newmarket and the surrounding area, and also to improve response times. So this is the overall site plan for the property, and as I mentioned, there's two components. First is the expansion of the existing bus storage facility, and the second is the inclusion of a much-needed EMS or paramedic response facility. The new building areas are highlighted in yellow, and the gray color represents existing buildings that will remain on the site. And as part of the application, there were 3 areas of concern that we really looked into. We wanted to address issues of noise, traffic, and driveway access. And really the overall objective here was to integrate the needs of York Region Transit and EMS within the existing community and to ensure that it meets its needs as well. So just separate out the expansion of the York Region Transit facility and the EMS, just make it a little bit clearer. Here's this zoomed in version of the site plan focusing on the expansion of the bus storage facility. The site plan proposes to retain the existing bus storage facility, which is the buildings in gray, and construct a 3,300 square meter addition on the east side of the building to accommodate an additional approximately 66 buses, and the new expansion area is shown in yellow. There's also another small yellow area, which is about 236 square meters of new administrative space. So the total proposed GFA of the new bus storage facility will be somewhere in the order of approximately 8,000 square meters, and will accommodate a total of approximately 108 buses. There's a new driveway connection proposed between the existing maintenance facility at 18106 and the existing indoor bus storage facility, and that driveway access is here. Currently, buses enter and exit the site via the two-way driveway on Yonge Street, right here, and buses will continue to utilize this driveway as its primary access point. The majority of the on-site traffic movements will really happen towards Yonge Street and really between the two facilities itself. There's a second and new driveway access proposed off of Aspenwood Drive, which is right there where my mouse is. Oops. Here. This second access is intended to be for employees only, and also as a potential emergency access for buses in case something happens and they can't access Yonge Street. And the driveway will be controlled through a secure barrier. So the staff-only driveway is located away from the residential community. It's been designed to align with the loading driveway of the Walmart or the commercial plaza on the south side of Aspenwood Drive. So this is the existing loading driveway. Separate driveways is needed to separate buses from employee vehicles to help avoid significant delays that will result from the mixing of both type of traffic. We're also proposing to reconfigure the existing parking areas. The new parking lot is proposed to the west of the building, and a total of approximately 157 surface parking spaces are proposed. There's a little bit of an oversupply of parking spaces being proposed at this time, and really it's intended to accommodate increase in bus service that is expected to occur over the life of the building. So the new parking area will be screened from you from Aspenwood Drive. Here's a photo of what the inside of the existing bus storage facility looks like, obviously before YRT took over the building. This is just some site statistics if anyone has any questions about the site plan. These are the proposed building elevations. The new parts of the building are shown highlighted in yellow, and the beige color represents parts of the building which will be retrofitted. We'll move on to the new paramedic response station. This is a zoomed-in version of the site plan focusing on the EMS. The new paramedic response station will include an approximately 600 square meter paramedic response facility. It'll have 3 tandem EMS bays accommodating a total of 6 EMS vehicles, approximately 20 parking spaces, and a new access driveway off of Aspenwood Drive is proposed. This driveway is aligned with the already stop-controlled intersection of Aspenwood and Coachwood. EMS requires a separate driveway from YRT to ensure it can make its response times. The proposed driveway has been located as far east as it possibly can be to ensure that it has minimal impacts on the residential community. These are just some site statistics for the EMS. These are the proposed elevations. The new facility will be visible from Aspenwood Drive, and the south elevation, which is the second elevation from the top, is the elevation that will be visible from Aspenwood Drive. There's a high quality of building design and materials that are proposed for this new facility to ensure that it integrates and complements existing residential area. And the new material will be constructed out of masonry, stone, and concrete. I'll just take you through the landscape plans. We submitted landscape plans as part of this application submission. There's some proposed vegetation plantings are highlighted in the light green color, and the dark green color indicates existing vegetation. Those are primarily concentrated along Aspenwood Drive. And the proposed landscaping intends to include a mix of native trees and drought-tolerant shrubs, perennials, and grasses for interest. This is the landscape plan for the EMS station, just to kind of give you a little bit more sense of that. And again, the new proposed plantings are in light green, and dark green are existing plantings. So in support of the application, we filed a variety of studies and reports. They included detailed engineering materials to address site grading, functional servicing, stormwater management. Most importantly, we submitted traffic report to review the bus and vehicle movements and the impacts on the surrounding community, and a noise study to investigate the potential noise impacts from the EMS and the expansion of the bus facility on the existing residential community. The traffic report concluded that all the intersections have capacity to accommodate the site traffic, and the existing driveway out to Yonge Street and the new proposed employee-only driveway out to Aspenwood can operate at good levels of surface. And the noise study concluded that noise impacts can be mitigated through site design, and that the noise levels are within acceptable ministry levels for both during the daytime and the nighttime levels. We have our members of our consulting here to answer. Our consulting team are here to answer any questions you may have. We have Shiva Paul from HGC. She's our senior acoustical engineer. We have Joseph Gowrie from Cole Engineering, who is our transportation engineer, and Paul Giochini from SES Consulting, who is our civil engineer as well.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Before we move into questions, if I can have a motion to receive the presentation. Oh. Mr. Mayor, second. Councilor Bazans. Thank you. And, pardon me? All those in favor? Excuse me. Okay. Councilor Hempin.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering, again, we were talking about community consultation and the expansion and recreation or repurposing of some of these properties. What is the distribution area going to be for community consultation and making them aware of the works that are going to take place here? The neighboring residential area.
Through you, Chair Vey, through to Councillor Hempin. Obviously, we're looking for your direction on what you feel is a reasonable area of circulation for notification. Obviously, we're prepared to participate and would follow your lead on the requirement that you set for it. So we haven't set any specific requirement or circulation area. We're looking to your staff to assist us in advising what would be a reasonable distance factor.
What is the standard distribution for this type of reconstruction? Or is it a couple hundred meters or 250 or?
Mr. Chair, there actually isn't a requirement because, you know, we don't typically or routinely send things to PICs through site plan. However, I think we could be guided by what we would require, say, for a normal zoning amendment application, which is about 120 meters, 400 feet. If the Site Plan Review Committee thought that was inadequate, we could extend upon that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The barrier between or is there a barrier or a buffer between the proposed EMS station and the parking lot? It looks like that if we put a huge parking lot out there and without some type of a barrier going north-south between that and the EMS station, when I look at the EMS station, it looks EMS station-ish. But put that next to a huge parking lot, and it could seem to be quite an imposition. Any thoughts around or any opportunities to buffer that? The parking lot, how many units will that be? Did I hear 300? In the parking spaces?
157 in the YRT parking lot, which is right here. And 20 parking spaces on the EMS facility, so a total of 170.
So if we put 150 cars up against the neighborhood there, I'd like to see some buffering between the EMS station and the parking lot. And you, I also see that there will be a security control as far as the access to the parking lot goes as well, so we won't see that. Okay. So would some consideration be given to providing some type of a buffer to that 150 cars that would be in
That's
the
something we
parking
can
lot?
look into. There are definitely some grading challenges with this site that do require some retaining walls in certain locations, and I believe between the EMS site and the proposed parking lot for the YRT, there is a requirement to have a retaining wall, as I mentioned. There may be opportunities to incorporate some additional landscaping or other measures. We can certainly look into that.
So I can also comment, if I may, through Chair Vey to Mayor Van Bynen, that there is a significant grade differential between the EMS site, which is on like a plateau of land, and that definitely is going to be a retaining wall that will create a very significant and distinct separation from the two. So there wouldn't be, the possibility of traveling between the two, and there would be certainly almost a visual differential because of the grade differential as well. So but I think with a bit of also landscaping treatment, I've suggested we could probably look at making it a nice finished product, but the relationship is such because of the grade differential that it'll be quite significant and separate.
Okay. It was more around the visual buffer towards the neighborhoods.
And the fencing and the berm, if I may add, so the fencing and the berm, if I may add, really will give you the same sort of elevation and look that you have today from the sight line, the street line that you have today at the building. And generally, I think all you'll see from the street line is the top of the building, which you currently might see today. I think that's really the outcome. So it won't create a visual to the street line for that parking. It'll be behind fences and the berm area. But we can certainly be sensitive to anything that the municipality would like us to do in terms of landscaping or fencing.
Okay. So just to be clear, where it shows between the proposed EMS facility where it says concrete curbs, I was hoping that we could see some type of a buffer between the parking lot and the EMS station. Although, I hadn't given.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit lost on this.
So if you take a look at the parking lot.
Maybe with your mouse, if you can point.
Go to the parking lot, the westerly portion, going north and south there. So between the EMS station, those two curves, if you could move that up and down.
Yes.
We lost our mouse. There we go.
There,
Talking
yeah,
north-south
along
access.
there.
Yep.
So what you've got here is a fairly large parking lot. The EMS station, I think, presents itself well towards the residential area. And my concern is the buffering from the parking lot, from the sight lines. Now, is there a... Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's only employees, it's not bus. But is there a buffer between the EMS station and the residential? It's been a while. Yeah.
On the west side.
So currently, the residential neighborhood north of Aspenwood.
If we can use your mouse to direct
Yes,
here
sir.
so we can all see that, please.
Sorry.
So if you take a look at the residential neighborhood.
On the west there.
Yeah, on the west side. What are they looking at now? Do they have a buffer or a fence or anything along that line?
There's a fence now. I believe there's a fence currently existing in that location. A fence, I believe, currently exists in that location.
Okay, what type of a fence is that?
It's a wood fence similar to, I think, the fence that you see along Aspenwood.
All right. And that'll stay in place then?
Correct.
Okay, well, that's fine. Then.
No intention to change that, no.
Okay, thank you, that's fine.
Okay. Councillor Bazans?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just a question with respect to the EMS, because my understanding is that the fence that's currently there obviously will go away, and it will be open. But there are homes that are immediately across the street that are now going to have a full visual of the new EMS station. And I'm just wondering if it would be possible to have more than just like a few trees or something, or have the berm higher, something that's going to lessen the impact of now suddenly having that building there, because people are going to be coming in and out at all hours of the day and night. And so that's going to create some car lights coming into people's side windows as well as front windows there. And so have you given thought to what you can do to minimize that impact? with either berms or more landscaping, more trees?
Absolutely. Through you, Chair Vey, to Councillor Bazance. Obviously, we are prepared to do whatever it takes to make this a good solution, a good result. Obviously, we respect and are sensitive to the neighbors because right now they don't have that building to look at. So obviously, we want to make sure that building has a good residential look to it. And for the most part, our EMS stations have an exposure to the street line and to the residential communities that they're in. But we all obviously want to look at how they impact the neighborhood. So through either additional landscaping, potentially for the berm you speak to, we'll do whatever it takes. And I think we can certainly mitigate any impact on the community and make it a nice, soft separation, as opposed to, I think, a hard line with a fence doesn't create quite the same elevation we'd like to see there. But we'll do whatever the municipality wants to create the right solution.
Okay. And another question I have is, in the topographical diagram, where you're planning to put the new driveway onto Aspenwood, there is an existing stop sign there.
Right.
But I don't know what's happening over where the new driveway for the bus, the staff parking driveway. Is there a stop sign there already, or is that, there isn't one there?
No,
So is that something that we could contemplate having? Because I can see that, if people are coming out of the EMS, as well as just the flow of people from the neighborhood, and now you've got additional cars coming out, that's going to become a very, very congested area and difficult to maneuver if there's no stop sign there.
Maybe our traffic people speak to that. Joe?
So we're just being advised by our traffic consultant that what we could commit to doing is putting a stop signal on internal to the property rather than having it controlled as an intersection on Aspenwood Drive to ensure that there is proper flow from the site.
Sorry, I don't understand what that
So we would put a stop sign here for employees for vehicles that are exiting the site. So they would be required to stop, at a stop intersection and before making the movement onto Aspenwood Drive.
But nothing to direct right of way for the other traffic.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just to let you know that the employee parking lot will be used randomly. The employees are arriving and exiting from the parking area randomly based on their shifts and when the service starts. So there isn't a particular concern about any traffic congestion because of the random nature of the departures and the arrivals to the parking lot. So as opposed to an all-way stop, which would control traffic on all four approaches, we feel that a stop at the driveway exit to the parking lot would be sufficient and safe.
If I could offer, if you've ever, not so much on Aspenwood, but if you've ever driven along Bonshaw or forget one of the other ones where you've got people coming from the different box stores onto Bonshaw and trying to wait, and sometimes it can be quite challenging and difficult. So I could envision that would be a situation that would cause some concern, particularly for the people who are, coming from the neighborhood along Aspenwood to get out to Yonge Street.
Certainly, the driveway opposite the proposed parking lot is to the loading area, and it's not the main public entrance into the mall on the south side.
I appreciate that, but you've still got people who are coming along Aspenwood that I think that could become an issue.
Okay. Ms. Nether, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was just going to mention through you that, if this development is approved in principle by this committee, and then after the PIC, one of the expectations of the review would be certainly our own engineering area would be looking at it, particularly from a traffic perspective. And if it turns out that in their analysis they deem it appropriate and that it meets the appropriate warrants, then that would be a recommendation coming out of them. It's probably premature to determine that one of the stop sign is necessary now, but if that is something that's identified as being appropriate, then we would expect to see that as a condition.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry. Finish. Regional Councillor Taylor?
Thanks very much. Can you put up the pictures, the actual photos of the two photos you had up there of the interface with the road? And yeah. So, two things. I guess obviously that berm there, it'll be altered to a degree, and then there's some plantings that will go in there. My two thoughts are, and I think it's already one's that's certainly been mentioned, is I'll start there though. The wooden fence. I just feel that it's. I think we could probably do something better. I guess to be blunt, as a region, it's it's getting old now, and I think if we're planning on something that's going to last here at the region, this might be the last chance for the town at a site plan to suggest we look at a different, more enhanced model that could look really quite nice alongside with some plantings, et cetera. And it's a fairly standard wood fence that was probably put in at a time where there was nothing back there, and now. So I would at least request, if not even. Want to make it a condition that we look at alternative fencing designs, especially along the public interface. I mean, the backyards maybe not as much, but the backyards I would suggest at the north, which is the other point I wanted to raise, and I think has been raised, is it looks like after this is done, the EMS station will leave some space back there, and I think there is a height differential back there as well. I don't know what to agree. The houses are higher though than the ground the EMS station is on.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I would think some fairly. Somewhat mature coniferous plantings as a buffer along there. It looks like there's room, and I think to be fair to the residents there, as you said, a new building much closer to them and an EMS station to boot. If I missed that and that was already in the design, maybe it was, I apologize, but I think that needs to be considered. So any thoughts on, through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, was that fence discussed in terms of upgrade or a possible different approach?
No, they haven't entered into any detailed discussions about the site plan. That fence has yet to be discussed.
Is that something that can be, I guess we could make it a condition of site plan, but because I do think it's justified, and I have enough familiarity with some other regional buildings, pumping stations. I think that certainly some aesthetic upgrades have been considered as a way of mitigating the impact on the community. So perhaps we can make that as a condition of site plan. My last question is actually through to Norm. The protocol for EMS coming and going, does the protocol require that they turn on sirens while they're on the grounds of the EMS station, or do they have latitude, or can they be given direction in terms of if it's the middle of the night and Aspen Wood's empty that they kind of try to wait till they get to Yonge, or is there safety reasons why they can't? Or
through you, Mr. Chair, excuse me, as we have response stations throughout communities, the paramedic's discretion is generally sensitive to the time of day and requirement to use warning systems. There isn't a requirement that lights and sirens be engaged from start to finish of a response. Generally, if you see an ambulance traveling, lights and sirens are generally used on major roadways approaching congested intersections. So typically it would be under those conditions at which on an emergency response warning systems would be used. So certainly there is a varying degree of when sirens would be heard. Generally it's not used continuously, it's used for specific periods during the travel of response, and when they're not needed, if there's no traffic or there's no traffic impediment or safety issue, then the sirens aren't used.
Okay, and I guess there's some internal, I assume when this is established, there'll be some discussions about that kind of, to try to help to be sensitive to a residential community that this is a new use, that you'll have some discussions, and your people working with you will have some discussions with the staff at that site about trying to understand the context, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done similar focus with staff, for example, at 520 Kane Parkway, being located in a residential area. And when residents express concerns about paramedic response, we certainly act on those to ensure that paramedics are sensitive of those residents nearby the station.
Right, and you've sort of read my mind. So the other part of this isn't just the the sirens, et cetera, but it's the idea of non-emergency use. So it might be tempting sometimes to go Aspenwood and in and go different directions depending on where you're going. But we can encourage all non-emergency or non-necessary emergency use to go to the Yonge Street.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very sensitive to maintaining the wishes of the residents within neighborhoods, and obviously avoiding any unnecessary traffic through using dedicated thoroughfares and such is very important, and we'll ensure that that messaging is consistent with this development for sure.
Great, thank you very much. At the appropriate time, I think I'd like to, or whoever would like to, make a condition of site plan that a new and enhanced fence interfacing with Aspenwood be required.
Okay, I think I'll ask for a motion in just in a few seconds. I do have a question. There will be a PIC on this. Do we have a date or approximate date?
Mr. Chair, no, we haven't had a chance to organize that, but we'll try to make sure that it's as soon as we can, perhaps 3 weeks or so.
Oh, that's soon. Okay, so within the next month.
We'll try.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Taylor, I believe you had a motion then?
I'll use the word councillor, but might want to include that. And I would assume a PIC at that point would include an example of fencing, of possibilities for fencing. Yeah, so.
Could include then the landscaping around the frontage of the EMS as well in that?
Okay. Well, actually, Councillor Vance, you're the board councillor. I'd like to ask you for a motion.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you for the courtesy, John.
So my motion would be subject to site plan approval.
Are you going to refer to a PIC?
Oh, yes. Okay. So that we would refer this issue to a PIC.
And I believe you wanted some, did you want to include in the motion some information on the upgrading on the fence and the other issues that were brought forward?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the fence, and what was the other one, please? I think there was a second one.
Appropriate landscaping for screening of the EMS building. Be included in the PIC.
Okay. May I have a seconder for that, please? We have Mr. Mayor, second. Thank you. All those in favor? I'm sorry. Excuse me.
There's a note from staff that references consideration to providing access to employee parking from Yonge Street. Has any consideration been given? I don't think that's reflected in the site plan at all. There's no access for the employee parking to the Yonge Street corridor. Is that, have you given any thought to that, and what do you see as the pros and cons to that, apart from mixing it in with bus traffic, which might be problematic?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have looked at a scenario where we share the employee driveway between passenger cars and buses. And what we do find is that it does cause a significant amount of delay to bus traffic leaving the facility. And that could cause serious implication to the bus schedule, which could actually have to be incorporated into the scheduling of the bus drivers. It is fairly significant, and because of that, we are recommending that we do have a separate access for employees.
Okay, thank you. I'm just, the question wasn't answered, so I thought maybe we should.
Okay, we do have a mover and a seconder.
Okay, we're referring to a PIC with some requests for inclusions. We're not approving or...
No, it's referring to a PIC at this point.
Okay.
I don't think we're approving. We're not approving right now. PIC first. Okay, we do have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you very much. That's all we have on our agenda today. I'd like to thank all the staff for your presence, my counselors, and everyone else who has come in. If we can have a motion to adjourn. Mr. Mayor and Regional Councillor. All those in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.